All right, so I finally saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And some of you might remember a while back I said in one of my videos that I don't think there's ever been a great Spider-Man movie. Well, that hasn't changed. I really wasn't a fan of this movie. Um, it was not thrilling. It was nice, but it wasn't thrilling.
Nice. Nice. Not thrilling, but nice.
I mean, there's some good stuff in this movie, but the more I think about it, the less I like it. It's just a mindless popcorn movie. And I know there's some people who might say, yeah, well, that's every MCU movie. But I don't agree. I think there's usually some good stuff with the MCU. It's just been kind of lacking lately with the movies, in my opinion. And this is no exception. Um, I'm probably going to get into some spoilers just briefly. I'll try to keep it as vague as possible, but just so you know, I'm going to be touching on some plot points, and it's mostly going to be stuff that was in the trailer, but there's going to be some minor spoilers at the very least, and I'm going to get into some details. So if you want to completely avoid that, or if for some reason you haven't actually seen the movie yet because it's been out for a week, and you still actually care, then you might want to bail out now. So, fair warning. Okay, so the movie picks up right after the events of Far From Home, and everybody knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and it's kind of ruining his life. I don't understand why, though. I mean, superheroes are so commonplace at this point in this universe, and several of them have no secret identity. I mean, we all just watched, just recently, the Hawkeye show, and everyone knows Hawkeye is Clint Barton, and nobody cares.
Dodson! Dodson! We've got Dodson here! See, nobody cares. Nice hat.
I mean, everyone knows that Tony Stark is Iron Man, Steve Rogers was Captain America, but for some reason, Spider-Man is a menace because J. Jonah Jameson says so, and because people believe he killed Mysterio, who was considered a hero for like a day and a half. I mean, I'm not somebody who's anti-secret identity. I'm very much the opposite. I think it's weird when they don't have a secret identity. But in this universe, it has made it so that like not having one is pretty common. So it's weird that suddenly it's an issue for everyone. It's just inconsistent with the rest of the MCU, in my opinion. And basically, at this point, Peter Parker thinks this is ruining his life because he and his friends didn't get into MIT because of the controversy surrounding Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I mean, what overprivileged shitheads, right? Your whole lives are upended because you're all super smart and didn't get into the school that you wanted. I got news for you. That happens every single year for most students. Get the fuck over it. But instead of getting over it, Peter decides that this one thing has basically ruined his life, and MJ's life, and Ned's life. So he goes to Doctor Strange for help. And this is all in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. And he basically asks Doctor Strange to make everybody forget that he's Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange quickly agrees to this. He agrees to brainwash everyone on the Earth into forgetting that Peter is Spider-Man. He even uses the word brainwash. I mean, it's insanity. Not only is it a violation of every human on Earth, but it's done so that 3 or 4 people can live slightly more comfortable lives. The audacity. And Doctor Strange is not this stupid. In fact, I don't know who this character is in this movie, because it's not Stephen Strange. He wouldn't agree to do something like this, especially over something so trivial. But he does. And he also fucks it up. And here comes the multiverse. And Doctor Strange is basically a plot device in this movie, and that sucks. He's just there to make the movie happen regardless of his character, regardless of what he would normally do, he has to make the movie happen. So therefore, he has to be an asshole. And then we see the villains from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. And this is a spoiler, so you might want to come back after you see it, I guess. Although it's one of the worst kept secrets, so you probably know it already. But just be warned. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield appear in this movie as Spider-Man. And I will admit, it was cool to see them back again and interacting with the characters from the MCU, but it gets old really fast. And this really annoyed me. All three of these Spider-Man characters feel the need to remove their masks in order to talk to each other. Every single one of them does it. I mean, maybe you could excuse Tom Holland's Spider-Man for doing it because everyone knows who he is at this point anyway. But as soon as Andrew Garfield shows up, he immediately takes his mask off in front of total strangers. And the reason he does it is to show the audience that, hey, it's Andrew Garfield. He's back. But there's actually no reason for him to do it in this universe, in the character. It just made me angry. Oh, and while everyone was cheering that he was back, I was stewing. I was fucking pissed because I was like, why would Spider-Man just rip his mask off in front of total strangers? Makes no fucking sense. And every time these three Peters get together to talk about a plan or huddle up or whatever, the masks come off as though they can't talk while masked. All three of these motherfuckers are anti-maskers. I mean, we've all been managing to wear masks in public for 2 years now. But these three dildos can't seem to figure it out. And it's hilarious because the whole movie started because Peter wants his secret identity back. Good luck keeping it, you asshole. With the way you take your mask off every 5 seconds, it's not going to last. There's even a scene where Andrew Garfield talks to one of the villains, who I don't think knows who he is. Maybe I'm wrong. But he seems surprised, and he says, "You're just a kid." And I nearly laughed out loud in the theater. Because Andrew Garfield is not a kid anymore. He's nearly 40 years old, and he looks it. Sorry. But like the idea that these characters are like college age, that time has passed. So stop pretending that they're fresh out of the movies that we last saw them in. And basically the movie builds towards a showdown between these three Spider-Men and their villains from the various alternate universes. And it's fine, I guess. There's a really nice moment with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and MJ. It was it pulled at your heartstrings a bit. It was nice. I'm glad they included it. But overall, I just didn't care enough. Those moments were few and far between for me. It's a long movie, and it feels long. It's riddled with plot holes and nonsense. There are jokes in just about every scene, and none of them work, in my opinion. I don't think I laughed once at any of them. It's a lot of jokes, even for an MCU movie. And none of them are funny. And maybe some of my opinion is tainted because I had a terrible theater experience. The place was packed. A lot of people were talking. It was hotter than Johnny Storm's Grundle in there. I feel like it'll be a miracle if I don't get COVID. Hopefully I'll be all right because it would really suck to end up dying for a movie that has lines like, "Please, Scooby, do this shit." But I think even if I was comfortable, I still wouldn't have enjoyed it. It's worth noting that I wasn't spoiled at all going into this. I didn't know anything. I managed to somehow avoid every spoiler. I mean, I suspected certain things, but everything outside the trailers, I didn't know. And yet, having said that, nothing surprised me. There are no surprises in this movie if you have seen the trailers, and maybe that means the trailers are a spoiler. I don't know. Certainly seems like a lot is given away in trailers these days. But to me, this movie was just a mindless money grab that relies heavily on nostalgia from the previous Spider-Man movies. And earlier I said Doctor Strange is a plot device, and in reality, the whole movie is a plot device. I mean, it exists only to give them, a reason to have the other characters show up going forward. I got a feeling we're going to get the X-Men out of this. We're going to get certain things are going to happen because of this movie, and it's just sloppy. They just want to have these other properties show up in the MCU. And I just think that it could have been handled a lot better. And everyone in the movie is stupid. They make stupid decisions, and I just couldn't care. I give it 2.5 dick rocks out of 5, and I think that's being generous. I'm still waiting to see that great Spider-Man movie. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Maybe someday.